Hello, Legend of the Samurai here with the Kaba Star, particularly the 4-row version. This is a pretty common lock on the used market in Japan. It is very, very similar to the Miwa JN and the Kaba 20, although these ones are almost always mounted with the keyway opening up. So there's, of the 4 rows, left, right, and then top left and top right on the diagonal. Really the only difference between this and the Miwa JN, and I'll show a key for that one, so they're cut exactly the same, the dimensions are all the same, but there's that ramp on the star that's not on the JN, and that's to interface with what they call blocking pins. So this key goes in and works, but the Miwa JN key hits that blocking pin, and without that ramp it can't even be inserted all the way, so it's a simple way to do key control there. So this one is rather used. It's been in service for a long time, and it demonstrates a behavior that the heavily worn Kabba locks will do, which can be quite annoying if you're not expecting it. So we'll see if I can get this open. This is not going to give me a lot of sharp, nice, loud clicks, so I'm going to have to hunt around a lot and do little increments until I can get where I need to go. So I'll start with a flag on the left side at the back. I'm going for that blocking pin first. So there's the blocker. There's pin 4 on the right. And now the next 10 or so pins all want to go at the same time. So I'm just bouncing back and forth, 1 and 2 on the right, checking 4, and then check the left side, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not much happening there. 1 and 2 keep going. I'll check the diagonal top left, gotta click there. And out of the second one, one, 2, 3, 4. Little click of 4 on the lower left. Check the top right. There's a nice click out of the second one. Okay, so there I just got most of a false set. Well, technically this isn't a false set because it's going to lead to an open, provided I haven't overset anything. So it should be just 2 pins left, 3 on the lower right, click, and 1, 2, 3 on the lower left, and we are open. This being a Kabba, the driver pins will spring out into the keyway, so I'm not going to spin this one, but we are open. Lock it back up. And our key still works. So I'll show the key for this one. This has 15 pins installed, so there's 6 on the lower right, 5 on... 6 on the lower left, 5 on the lower right, and then 2 each in the diagonal rows. And the 2 deep ones should theoretically be 0 lift, and the one on the top right is. The one on the top left I have to set, otherwise the lock will not open. So sometimes you do actually have to nudge those. This cylinder makes gutting fairly convenient, so I'll go left, top right, right. And I can just slide out Bible cover strips. So the left and right sides are already slidable from the factory. The top left, top right, you have to undo some crimping. That's the front too. Luckily, they're both the same bitting height. Alright, so here is the special blocker pin. It's flat on the bottom, and it goes most of the way across the keyway. And then, because it's a Kabba, we also have at least one, usually two, of these nice deep spools that will trap oversets, although the ones in this lock very much don't need to be touched. So far as I've noticed in picking it, I don't have to do anything to either of them. They just set themselves as I'm moving past. So one thing they do in the top is they put these brass spacer slugs over top of the springs, so they don't have to use longer springs on the diagonals. And now in this row, so I've got two active pins in here, and there's a third populating a chamber up at the front with an inactive hardened pin that does not reach into the keyway, and then just a hardened insert over top of it for drill protection. And these ones get steel drivers. So those two. And we have another anti-drill. And then two up front. Quickly that goes there. All right, last one. Five on this side. Oh, and I should say, two of these springs are actually slightly, of course, drop one on the floor. Two of these springs are slightly smaller than the rest of them. And they appear to be installed over the max lift pins. I don't know if that's constant across all locks, but of the two maximum lifts in this one, each of them had a shorter spring. There's our other spooled key pin. Okay, so before I take the plug out, here are all of our pins. Can't tilt this too far, I don't want to lose everything. And then in the back of the plug, little Phillips head screws that are Loctited in place, although not ultra high strength stuff. So in the back of this we have a little ball bearing. And then, you'll note the plug has a detent that snaps back in place, and that is dealt with. There's a little ball bearing in the bottom of the keyway there, so when you take the plug out, try not to let that shoot off. Alright, there's our plug, and then there's actually a cap that goes outside the spring for the ball detent. Not sure why it's there, but it actually is on the other side of that hole there. So you could push on that little brass plug through that hole. So here's our housing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And the ball bearing detent. And our plug is pretty normal. There is only the one step of constriction. There's no overmilling or anything like that. No warding. So effectively, this is the same as a Kaba 20 or a Miwa JN. It just comes with a little bit more drill protection, and it makes use of the blocker pin, which gives them extra key control. And I did have to use a relatively small flag to actually get in between that pin and the side of the keyway. So there we are. That is the 4-row Kaba Star, picked and gutted. So if you are debating between getting a Miwa JN or a Kaba Star or a Kaba 20, they're all effectively the same lock. This one has a tiny bit extra complication, but other than that, pick the one which is easiest to gut, because otherwise it does not make much of a difference. Other than that, thanks for watching and have a nice day.